Welcome back, folks. It's been one of those wild weeks in the world of crime news. A look at some of the topics we're going to be covering today. Justin Timberlake's DUI arrest in 2024 is back at the top of the headlines due to body cam footage from his arrest being released. We'll break that down. In Arkansas, Joseph and Kendra Duggar of the TLC reality show 19 Kids and Counting have been arrested in a child sex abuse and endangerment case. In Louisiana, two prominent New Orleans attorneys are convicted in a massive wreck fraud scheme targeting 18-wheelers. A woman in Kentucky gets evicted and then gets payback by setting the entire apartment complex on fire.
Makes sense.
Yeah. In Texas, the prime suspect in the Texas Killing Fields murders dies at 72 years old. We got all this plus much more today. KJ, before we start, we want to remind everyone that a commercial-free expanded edition of this show is available on both the Exposed and Unspeakable feeds, whichever you choose on Patreon.
Yes, they are. And people are enjoying that because they get the more stories.
Well, they get to see KJ.
Oh, dear God.
in all her glory.
In all my sweatpant glory.
Yeah, and it's commercial-free. So,
yeah, good.
All the good stuff there. But let's get into what has been going on in the world of crime. And we're going to start off in Sag Harbor, New York. And we're going to talk about a pretty famous singer by the name of Justin Timberlake.
Mm-hmm.
Bye, bye, bye.
That was my teenage dream. Went to many a concert.
Well, he has really embarrassed himself, I guess. Some police body cam footage showing the pop superstar Justin Timberlake during his drunken driving arrest in the Hamptons nearly 2 years ago was released this past Friday. It gave the public its first unfiltered look at a roadside stop that led to criminal charges. Now, the roughly 8-hour video, of course, released in a redacted form by the Sag Harbor Police Department on March 20th, 2026, captures Timberlake, then 43, struggling through standard field sobriety tests after officers pulled him over late in the night on June 18th of 2024. He had allegedly run a stop sign and veered out of his lane while driving a BMW away from the American Hotel in Sag Harbor. In the footage, Timberlake appears cooperative but nervous. He tells officers, quote, "I'm a little nervous," while attempting to walk a straight line and stand on one leg. I bet he was. At one point, he blurts out, quote, "These are really hard tests," and adds, "My heart's racing." He informs the officers he had, quote, "one martini."
Which means way more.
Yeah, either that or it was the strongest martini ever known to man, if you watch that video.
Martini, hold the olive juice.
Right. He also mentions that he was on tour and from Memphis. A female friend who was with him at the time is seen reacting with shock as officers placed Timberlake under arrest for driving while intoxicated. Now, what is absolutely hilarious to me was at one point in which the officer realizes that it's Justin Timberlake he had just pulled over. You got to keep in mind, it's dark, y'all. It's the middle of the night, and the officer did not immediately realize who he had pulled over. I want you to listen to this quick clip and the officer's reaction when Timberlake identifies himself.
So the reason for the stop is because you're keep veering off to the left, and then you're not stopping at the stop signs.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Is this your vehicle? Whose vehicle is it?
Yeah, I just saw a rental.
It's a rental? Okay. Do you have any registration with it? Do you know if they can put it in the glove box?
Let me check.
How long are you renting it for?
Just for a couple of days.
What are you visiting?
Yeah, I'm on tour.
What are you doing?
I'm on a world tour.
A what?
A world tour.
Doing what?
Hard to explain. World tour. I'm Justin Timberlake.
What's your name?
Justin Timberlake.
You are Justin Timberlake?
Yeah.
You have a license with you?
Yeah, I do.
Now, y'all, I don't care who you are. That is hilarious. The dude is like, give me your license after he says he's Justin Timberlake. Old Justin didn't realize this dude was a Backstreet Boys fan, I guess, KJ.
The rivalry is real.
Right. So the singer at times jokes with officers. A video goes on, yo, you guys are wild, he says in one exchange. And then later, he's at the police station during booking, and he kind of goes back and forth between pissed off and apologizing. So Timberlake fought very hard to keep this footage private. In March of 2026, he filed a lawsuit against the Village of Sag Harbor. How's that? I get a DUI and I'm going to file a lawsuit against you for showing it. He argued the video captured him in an acutely vulnerable state and would cause severe and irreparable harm to his reputation. Well, you should have thought of that before you got behind the wheel.
To everybody's reputation.
Right. Right. His legal team did reach a settlement with authorities that allowed a redacted version of the video to be released. I'd love to see the whole version. Yeah. The parts he didn't want in there. Right. The case was resolved months earlier in September of 2024. Timberlake pleaded guilty to the lesser charge of driving while impaired, and as part of the deal, he had to pay $500 plus a fine surcharge. He completed 25 hours of community service, and he had his New York driver's license suspended for 90 days. The original DWI charge was dropped. Now, a source close to the singer told People magazine that Timberlake viewed the footage as the, quote, best alternative and hoped it would finally close the chapter on the incident so he can move forward.
Yeah, look, you're no different than anybody else. You're a human being. You're famous and you're rich. This did nothing. This was a blip on his radar. It didn't make him go broke. And, he just moves on with his life. If you or I get put in this position, we are going to be financially hit. You know what I'm saying? It's going to cost a lot of money for us. So I guess I'm just kind of disappointed because I did watch the video and it's like, dude, you're drunk. You know you're drunk. I know you're drunk. And
so you wouldn't tell him, I'm Kelly Jennings from Unspeakable.
No, I would say.
Perhaps she listened to my show.
No, I would say, oh my God, I saw you in concert when I was 17 and you put your hand up to the glass on your tour bus and
I was saying if you were
mine.
Arrested.
Oh shit, no. I'd be like, oh God, now everyone's gonna know I'm a party girl.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Right. I mean, just come on, dude. Own up to it. I screwed up. Make a public service announcement of, guys, it's this easy. People make mistakes. I was wrong. Don't do like me. Do better. And, you could turn this into a learning lesson instead of a lawsuit.
I agree. And I mean, martinis hit you hard, man. And he may have just had one martini.
No, his eyes are red in that picture. Unless he smoked some. I don't know. But, I'm guessing. I don't know that. Allegedly for entertainment purposes only. But I know this. I have a close friend whose daughter was killed by a drunk driver years back. And so it's not something that should be taken lightly. You should be held accountable because just because nothing happened doesn't mean it couldn't have.
Right.
So there you go.
I agree.
All right, let's go to Arkansas. The Duggar family, once famous for the TLC reality series 19 Kids and Counting, is facing new criminal charges after 2 members of the family were arrested this week in connection with alleged child sexual abuse and endangerment. Joseph Garrett Duggar, 31, was arrested Wednesday by I think this is Town. Have you ever heard of that before?
No.
Town Police Department on a warrant from Florida authorities. He faces felony charges of lewd and lascivious behavior involving unlawful sexual activity with a minor under 12 years old. According to the Bay County Sheriff's Office, the allegations involve a now 14-year-old girl who says Duggar molested her in 2020 when she was 9 years old during a family vacation in Panama City Beach, Florida. The victim reported that Duggar asked her to sit on his lap, and then on a couch, he put both of them underneath a blanket where he allegedly manipulated her underwear and touched her genitals while rubbing her thighs. Duggar waived extradition Friday and remains held without bond in the Washington County Detention Center in Fayetteville, Arkansas, pending transfer to Florida. Bay County authorities have 30 days to retrieve him. Just days later, on Friday, the police department arrested Duggar's wife, Kendra Duggar, 27 years old. Both Kendra and Joseph now face identical misdemeanor charges in Arkansas, 4 counts each of endangering the welfare of a minor, 2nd degree, and false imprisonment, 2nd degree. Kendra was booked around 4:56 p.m. local time and released roughly an hour later after posting a $1,470 bond. The couple, who married in 2017 and share 4 young children, has not issued a public statement. Police have released limited details on the Arkansas charges, which appear connected to the same investigation. This marks the second Duggar son to face serious child-related criminal allegations. Joseph's older brother, Josh Duggar, is serving a 151-month federal prison sentence after his 2022 conviction on charges of receiving and possessing child sexual abuse material. The family's spinoff series, Counting On, was canceled following those revelations and earlier 2015 reports that Josh had molested several of his younger sisters when he was a teenager. Family reactions have been swift. Sister Jill Duggar Dillard said that she is heartbroken and stands with the victims, emphasizing that no one is above the law. Cousin Amy Duggar King told Entertainment Tonight she is sickened but not surprised, blaming what she calls a toxic family cycle. Through his attorney, incarcerated brother Josh Duggar said the allegations against Joseph deeply saddened him and that he understands the painful reality of how false accusations can destroy a life. Puke. Like, give me a break on that one, dude. Anyway, sorry. The arrests have renewed scrutiny of the conservative Christian family who built a public brand around large family values and faith. Jim Bob and Michelle Duggar have not commented publicly on the latest developments, and the investigations remain active in both Arkansas and Florida.
And obviously, if those allegations are true, that's disgusting and terrible. I was familiar with the show, but I've never actually watched it. Is that something you would have suspected out of those two? I mean, I know you've watched it several times.
Yeah. I mean, at the time, no. Like back in the gap when it was big watching it, they were teenagers, you wouldn't think.
Oh, they were that? Okay.
Yeah, they were older teenagers, but you kind of watched them grow up, I guess.
Yeah.
But this is the deal, okay? The strong faith values and all this kind of stuff, they put a very, very, very large emphasis on sexual purity. It's like a big deal, like at the forefront of everything that they do. Like whenever they start courting, they don't call it dating. When they start courting, a younger sibling has to go on the date with the older sibling so as to make sure nothing happened. You know what I'm saying? Like you're not going to do anything with your sibling there. And it seems to me that when you are that caught up in sexual purity, which I'm not saying is a bad thing, like sexual purity, but and you're really, really heavy on how young girls are pure and untouched and all of that, it almost got to the point that it was like a lot.
Yeah.
To focus on that. I'm not saying it's not important, but for that to be like central TV that we're talking about the whole time, like, so I'm wondering if they are like Jill said, the daughter that was molested by the older brother that he is serving time. I'm wondering if it's almost cultivating that environment of, I don't know. I don't want to say curiosity because that sounds gross to me, but you know what I'm trying to say? Like you're cultivating something like when you tell a kid growing up, don't do drugs, don't do drugs, don't do drugs, don't drink, don't drink, don't drink. What do kids want to do? Drink, do drugs, try it out. Why not? Why would you tell me no? Let me live my life, blah, blah, blah. And I'm not saying sexual abuse equates, and in no way am I saying that. But the point being that when they are so heavy on purity and how young girls have never been touched and, all this kind of stuff, I don't know if you have it's like they're cultivating this weird sexual predisposition to this. I don't know. What are chances of 2 of your kids getting arrested for the same thing?
Yeah. Yeah. So they weren't married. They were cousins.
No, these 2 are married.
Oh, those 2 were married.
Yeah, and I think probably, I don't know this is an assumption, just us discussing it, but I'm assuming she, in some way, when it says the kidnapping charge there, I'm wondering, there's got to be something at some point. It's a misdemeanor. It's not a felony. So it sounds to me like they had custody of this child, maybe that was abused, and did not let her, leave the room maybe or something for that period of time. I don't know. It's a rough one without any foundational documents.
Yeah.
But either way, they keep doing this crap of stand by your man. And, like the one that's Josh Duggar that's in prison has been there. His wife is still visiting him, And that evidence is ironclad. They pulled, if you don't know, they pulled hard drives from his work computer at I believe it was a car dealership that his dad owned or something like that. I mean, they pulled the documents off of there.
Yeah.
It's when he says he's falsely accused, you make me want to vomit. No, you weren't. Sorry.
There you have it. Let's go to Columbus, Nebraska. And I'm going to tell you about a 26-year-old Nebraska man who has pleaded guilty to second-degree murder after luring his stepfather to a Walmart parking lot by pretending he needed help finding a vehicle part and then fatally shooting him at close range with bullets to the chest and head. Manuel Cabrera entered the guilty plea this month. This was in Platte County District Court. He's convicted of, or he pleaded guilty. So I guess, he's convicted of killing a 42-year-old man by the name of David Hernandez. According to court records and police, Mesa Cabrera asked his stepfather to accompany him to the Walmart Supercenter. He claimed he needed assistance locating an auto part. After the two men parked, Cabrera pulled out a 9mm Smith & Wesson handgun, which he had legally purchased just a couple of weeks earlier, and shot Hernandez once in the chest and once in the head. Columbus police responded to the scene around 6:20 p.m. after reports of a shooting. Officers found Hernandez lying on the ground, suffering from a gunshot wound. They rendered aid until medics arrived and transported him to a local hospital where he was pronounced dead. Cabrera turned himself in to authorities shortly after that shooting and confessed. He told investigators he knew he would be arrested. Police recovered the handgun from the glove compartment of this vehicle, and an affidavit revealed that Cabrera had been diagnosed with schizophrenia but was not taking medication or receiving treatment at the time. He admitted to having homicidal
Ideations?
Yeah, say that 3 times fast for a year or two, and said he decided in the days leading up to the crime he would kill his stepfather. He was initially charged with first-degree murder and use of a firearm to commit a felony, and he didn't say much at the earlier arraignment, leading the court to enter a not guilty plea on his behalf. Now, as part of the plea deal, the charges were reduced, and he pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and the weapons charge. The captain at the time, Doug Malitsky, said upon arrival, officers located a male victim lying on the ground with a gunshot wound to the chest. They immediately rendered aid until the fire department medics arrived on scene, and Cabrera is scheduled to be sentenced in April. But tragic story, and shocking that this man's father-in-law shows up to help him.
Stepdad, right?
No, I thought it was his father-in-law. Was it not?
I don't know. We can just go with, I thought they said it was his stepdad.
Okay, stepfather. Yeah. You're correct, actually.
For once.
Either way. I know. He calls this guy to go help him out, and he shows up and he shoots and kills him, and there's no real mention of a motive for that. I don't know if they had earlier disagreement or what.
I wouldn't doubt it if they didn't, because schizophrenia is a very scary thing to manage, especially when someone is not on their medication. And I feel for that stepfather. He shows up to go help, and there's no way he didn't know of the mental issues that are going on with this guy. And, schizophrenics will hear voices that are telling them to do things. That's probably where the homicidal ideation was coming in. And it's certainly a mitigating factor. It doesn't make it any less excusable. We don't murder, but these cases right here are the really, really tough ones, because obviously there's a mom there who's lost her husband and now her son.
Right. And I know that anytime you quit taking any sort of medicine, especially one that affects your mind, that's a problem.
Yeah, and it's actually also very common that people who are affected at this level of mental illness, and I'm no medical expert and I'm not claiming to be, but it is more common that when there's things like schizophrenia and stuff, that they will start taking the medication, they'll start feeling better, it'll quiet them down, and for some reason in their mind they go, oh, I'm better, I don't need to take the medicine anymore, and then they'll stop taking it. That's very common.
And they'll quit it cold turkey rather than weaning themselves off. I mean, any sort of antidepressant, I know you have to wean yourself off very slowly or you'll go crazy.
Yeah, your neurotransmitters are going to go wild in your brain. So I'm not trying to say I have a heart for the guy that shot him, but I do have a heart for the fact that you're crazy. I mean, you've got a lot going on there, and there's problems. But I really wish mental health was better cared for in this situation. I really do. All right, let's go to New Orleans. And a federal jury on Friday convicted 2 well-known local personal injury attorneys and their law firms in what prosecutors describe as a brazen, years-long scheme to stage car crashes into tractor trailers, fabricate injury claims, and defraud insurance companies out of millions of dollars. Vanessa Mata, 44, a former Hollywood stunt woman who founded Mata Law Firm, and Jason Giles, 47, a partner at the King Firm, were found guilty on all counts after a nearly 3-week trial in the U.S. District Court. The jury deliberated for more than 5 hours before returning the verdicts. Mata and Giles were convicted of conspiracy to commit mail and wire fraud, multiple counts of mail fraud, obstruction of justice, and witness tampering. Mata faced additional counts of witness tampering. Their respective law firms, Mata Law and the King Firm, were also convicted on related organizational charges. A third defendant, I think this is Dominique, but it's spelled very different, but Dominique, I don't know how you would say that, Stalbert, was convicted of making false statements but acquitted on the conspiracy count. In a dramatic courtroom scene followed by the verdict, Chief U.S. District Judge Wendy Vitter ordered both attorneys taken into immediate federal custody pending sentencing, citing concerns over witness tampering. Mata reportedly sobbed and vomited at the defense table while her mother fainted. Giles was also remanded to custody. Sentencing is scheduled for July. Prosecutors said the scheme, which began as early as 2011 and continued through at least 2024, involved what they called quote-unquote slammers, recruiters paid by the attorneys and their associates who packed cars with passengers and deliberately crashed them into 18-wheelers, especially those with high insurance limits. The quote-unquote victims were then funneled to Mata, Giles, and the other attorneys to file inflated personal injury lawsuits and demand settlements. One cooperating former attorney, Danny Keating, pleaded guilty earlier and testified that he alone handled 77 fraudulent cases and collected more than $1 million in fees. Federal investigators dubbed the probe Operation Sideswipe. This was not just a few bad accidents. It was a manufactured lawsuit factory that put truck drivers, their companies, and ultimately everyday policyholders at risk, a prosecutor told the jury during closing arguments. Defense attorneys maintained their clients were unaware of any staging and argued the government overreached. The convictions mark one of the largest insurance fraud takedowns in recent Louisiana history. More than 60 people have already pleaded guilty in the case. Several other personal injury cases tied to the scheme remain pending in civil court, according to records. Both Mata and Giles face potential decades in federal prison. Legal ethics experts say the convictions will almost certainly result in their permanent disbarment. U.S. Attorney's Office spokesperson Aaron Lowry said in a statement, "This verdict sends a clear message that no one, not even licensed attorneys, are above the law when they turn the justice system into a get-rich-quick scam." Attorneys for Mata and Giles indicated they plan to appeal.
Pretty wild story. And look, man, you are taking one hell of a risk if you're going to partake in this fraud scheme where you pack your car down full of, I guess, items so that when an 18-wheeler slams into you, it doesn't kill you.
Well, I think they packed them full of people so that they would get multiple claims.
Even wilder.
Yeah.
I mean, I would worry about like getting hurt. If people wonder why insurance rates are so high in the state of Louisiana, that's a good example. Man, those people are about as bad as it gets to me.
Yeah, this is sleazy attorney behavior.
Yeah.
And I would bet, I'd be willing to bet that the clientele that they recruited to do this were probably more on the impoverished side and more willing to risk more if they were told, hey, you're going to get, $200,000 if you'll do this.
Yeah.
And to me, that's even worse because now that's predatory. If that's the case, which I'm not saying it 100% is, I'm speculating, but I would bet I'm right on that one. And now your predatory behavior is affecting also all of the people uninvolved in this, that this could have caused a flip over wreck. This could have cost the lives of people.
Somebody could have ran into someone else.
Yeah, a motorcycle going by has no clue that there's about to be a brake check or whatever. So they should go to prison, and you should throw up because it's gross. It's sick what you did.
100%. Let's go to Louisville, Kentucky, and a 68-year-old woman, y'all, and keep mindful of that age. 68 years old. She's facing an eviction, right? Well, she's accused of deliberately setting her apartment complex on fire in the middle of the night and then telling witnesses and police she was going to kill everybody in the building, according to authorities. Elizabeth Radmacher was arrested following an early morning blaze at the Stonewater Apartments in East Louisville, Kentucky. According to the police and arson investigators, Radmacher intentionally set that fire in her bedroom. This was around 3 o'clock in the morning. What 68-year-old is awake at 3 o'clock in the morning?
The ones that are going to burn down apartments.
She then left the unit without warning any of her neighbors. And that, we kind of laughed at first, but that's no laughing matter, obviously. The blaze caused an estimated $100,000 in damage. It, of course, displaced several residents in the building, sent one person to the hospital for evaluations. And impressively enough, the fire crew actually contained that fire in less than 20 minutes.
Excellent.
Now, while standing outside watching the flames, multiple witnesses and responding officers reported hearing Radmacher repeatedly say, quote, "I'm going to kill everybody." She later claimed someone else had forced her to start that fire. But she didn't say who that was.
The devil?
Her other personality, I guess. Radmacher was in the process of being evicted at the time, and the 3 counts of first-degree endangerment stemmed from the danger posed to a family of 3, including a child living directly above her unit. So this could have turned out really bad. One neighbor sprang into action, started knocking on doors to alert residents. When they interviewed him, he said, "I knock at the doors and told everyone to get out because a fire is coming." Another neighbor expressed relief that no one was killed, saying he had a kid up there, so he could have been badly burned or killed. Radmacher faces charges of first-degree arson, first-degree criminal mischief, and 3 counts of endangerment. She was arraigned earlier this week, pleaded not guilty, and remains in the Louisville Metro Corrections on a $50,000 bond.
So
68 years old.
Let's talk about this too. Fire, because no one was hurt, it's probably, people are like, oh, good, nobody was hurt, and you kind of move on. But let's talk, guys, because it's 3 o'clock in the morning, which is going to pose to me an added risk because everyone's asleep. And so most people don't die by flame, they die by smoke inhalation. And they don't wake, maybe they don't wake up or whatever. But also, a fire, if you don't know this, a small fire, any fire, doubles in size every 60 seconds. So, on average. So
I did not know that.
Yeah.
What?
So,
wow, interesting fact.
Fun
KJ.
fact here from dispatch instructor. So, the fact they contained it in 20 minutes is great, but every minute a fire is going up and getting bigger. So, I think everybody's very lucky here. And this could have gone so bad so quick, especially, too, when fire weakens structure. It can, the floor could have fell out between the poor kids sleeping above her. Roofs can collapse, things of that nature. So thank God for these neighbors. That's hero. That's everyday hero stuff right there when you're knocking on doors and warning your neighbors. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
Cool. I wonder if that neighbor's name was State Farm because, like a good neighbor, State Farm was there. That was not an endorsed.
Oh my God.
Whatever, we can be cheesy. All right, let's go to Houston. And this was obviously a huge story, and it's unfortunately come to a strange closing here. But Clyde Edwin Hedrick, the man long regarded as the prime suspect in the chilling Texas killing fields murders that haunted Southeast Texas for decades, has died at age 72. Hedrick passed away around 2 p.m. on Saturday, March 21st, 26 at a Houston hospital after being admitted the previous week. This is according to the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. He died while living in a parole halfway house under the state's strictest super intensive supervision program, which included GPS monitoring. For more than 40 years, Hedrick has been a central figure in the investigation into the murders of at least 4 women whose bodies were dumped in a remote marshy field off Calder Road in League City, and this is between Houston and Galveston. The victims included 25-year-old bartender Heidi Fye, last seen October 1983, 16-year-old Laura Miller, she was last seen September 1984, Audrey Lee Cook, approximately 30 years old, and Donna Prudhomme, approximately 34 years old. Their remains were discovered between 1984 and 1991, some identified only decades later in 2019, turning the area into the grimly named Texas killing fields. Now, Hedrick was never criminally charged in those 4 killings and repeatedly maintained his innocence, including in a 2024 on-camera interview. However, he was convicted of involuntary manslaughter in the 1984 death of 29-year-old Ellen Beeson, whose body was found nearby under garbage with a fractured skull. He served 8 years of a 20-year sentence before his release on parole in 2021. Laura Miller's father, his name is Tim Miller, and he is the founder of the volunteer search and recovery group Texas EquiSearch. And he spent more than 4 decades seeking justice for his daughter and the other victims. He did win a $24 million wrongful death civil judgment against Hedrick in 2022 after the suspect failed to appear in court. Miller has long believed Hedrick was responsible. I hope the case continues to move forward, Miller said after learning of Hedrick's death. Even with his death, I hope authorities can still prove what I believe, that Clyde was responsible for my daughter and the deaths of other girls. A lot of information about the case is yet to come out. It's inexcusable that it went on for this long. Witnesses had placed Hedrick near several victims, including accounts of him speaking with Laura Miller and giving her rides on his motorcycle, visiting Heidi Fye's apartment, and being seen with Prudhomme. Retired FBI agent Richard Renison, who worked the cases, said investigators could never fully rule Hedrick out despite eliminating other leads. We had a whiteboard with all of these names on it. Slowly, they were crossed off, but we could never rule out Clyde. Hitchcock Police Detective Corey Williams visited Hedrick in the hospital the day before his death. He was too ill to speak, and Hedrick indicated non-verbally that he was not involved. Williams confirmed the investigation remains active. Retired Galveston County Sheriff's Lieutenant Tommy Hansen expressed mixed views, saying that he had doubts about Hedrick's involvement in every case, but saw him as potentially linked to several. Hedrick's death closes one chapter in one of Texas's most infamous cold case sagas, which gained renewed attention nationally through the 2022 Netflix documentary crime series, Crime Scene, The Texas Killing Fields. But authorities emphasize the murders of Miller, Fye, Cook, and Prudhomme, along with dozens of other unsolved killings along the I-45 corridor, remain open. The search for answers and accountability continues for the families who have waited more than 4 decades, and no cause of death has been released.
Yeah, and if you haven't seen that Netflix documentary, wow, it's really good, really well put together. And you hate to see something like this happen because it closes a chapter on a prime suspect in the case. I don't, if he had anything to do with any of that, obviously I don't shed a tear for his death, but I shed a tear for the fact that these families, it eliminates any sort of justice being gained by this guy's arrest for those murders. I tend to agree with the quote that you said in it. I don't know that he had something to do with all of them, but there were several of them that he was linked to, and this is, getting into that would take the whole rest of the show, so I'm not going to do that. But go check out the documentary and you'll see what I mean. There's a lot of questions surrounding him personally.
Now, we don't like to assign homework at this show.
Yeah.
Okay, we don't like to assign homework. It's not what we want to do, but we are going to go ahead and assign that to you. Get on your Netflix and go watch it. And I don't believe in coincidences. They happen, but I don't believe in them as much as this guy seems to be involved and be around and giving rides. I mean, and then he's guilty of cracking the skull of a girl who's found, thrown away under some trash. That doesn't happen in most people's lifetimes, and then you are consistently in the lives of other girls that go missing and are murdered.
Yeah.
I don't know, guys. But again, that's circumstantial.
Circumstantial, but, circumstantial cases of convicted people many times, or, hundreds of thousands of times over the years. So,
yeah. Hey everyone, CrimeWire Weekly has moved to its own new channel.
We hope you've enjoyed this preview. To continue listening, please follow the link referenced in the description of this podcast.
Or simply search CrimeWire Weekly wherever you're listening.
And don't forget to follow the show so you can be alerted when new episodes drop.
Thanks for listening.